Hello and welcome to episode 8 of AFL Dreamteam and Supercoach after a couple of weeks away over the holiday period. But back now, and it's all getting exciting as we prepare to upgrade some of the rookies we got sitting on our bench to get some more blue chip stars out on the field for us each week. So this week we'll be having a look at the upgrades for the defenders, also the mids, the forwards, and the rucks. And we'll be looking at with Collingwood's bye this week and DaneSwan or Pendlebury being probably most people's automatic captains, I'd probably say, who the options are this week, and a quick look at the injuries. Okay, so let's get into the defenders. I've got 4 here: Otten, Daigan, Lower and Toy. Now, probably the only one out of these that is ready to be traded now would be Nick Daigan. His break-evens and his averages look like that his time of making money for most Dream Teamers is up. So it's probably time to change him out of your team for a lower-priced rookie. And there are some options looking like they're coming up that we'll look at. All the others, Andrew Otten's got a knee problem at the moment that's going to keep him out for a couple of weeks, so his price rise will be probably a month or so away before he's probably looking at a possible sale upgrade for your team. And ditto with Nick Lower, he's probably a bit further off. His price will won't peak for probably another 2, 3, 4 weeks, depending on exactly if you want to get him at the very peak of his powers, or whether you need to make a trade a little bit earlier than that, just before a blue chip player reaches their peak. These are some other players in the same boat as the previous ones that you can look to sell to make an upgrade for your team. Dyson Heppell's a player that I'd keep on my bench. His scores are too high to probably sell him off, and he's probably really good security, and being a dual position player as well, he's one you'd keep. Whereas Batchelor, McKernan and Stanley, they're all only a few weeks away from reaching their peak values and being ready for sale and swapped out for a cheaper rookie option. So you can upgrade your players out on the field. So these are probably the best 4 replacements for any of those players I've just mentioned beforehand. Ben Jacobs has been out for so far this season with glandular fever, but has played the last couple of weeks in the SANFL. Had an excellent first game back, a bit quiet the second week, but he gets a lot of the footy in juniors, and he's physically he's ready to play AFL, and I think the way Port Adelaide are going, I think he'll play a lot of games. And he's also a dual position player, and he's at a relatively cheap price, so he's one to look at. Matthew Watson at Carlton has already played 2 games, so next time he plays, his price will go up. It's just a matter of not how consistently he's going to play. He seems to be one of those first-year players that might play 1 or 2 games here and there, then drift out again. So he'd be an interesting one to see how he goes this year. Jamie Cripps played his first game for the Saints as a late emergency last week. Looking at how the Saints are going, I dare say that and how Ross Lyon's been picking his team, I dare say he'd probably go out this week. But looking at the Saints' draw, I think by mid-season they may be in a little bit of a hole, and it may be time to play the kids just for the second half of the year. So in the second half of the year, I think Jamie Cripps may be a really good option. And Paul Puopolo, or Puopolo, one of those two. He looks like he's been playing some good football in the VFL lately, and he looks like coming into the Hawks probably this week, actually. So he could be one to keep an eye on as Nick Lowe reaches his top price in a couple of weeks' time. Perhaps he might be one that you can swap for lower to make some cash and upgrade another one of your defenders. And probably a few of the targets that you might be looking at. Corey Enright, extremely dependable down back. You look at Brian Lake, he's going to be playing the reserves this week, but And everyone with Brian Lake will probably have to, you can see by his break-evens there that his price is going to drop for a few weeks when he starts playing. So he might be one in about a month or so's time that people are really looking at to bring in, but I'd probably wait till he has at least one big game at AFL ranks before bringing him in. Matt Suckling's a good up-and-coming halfback from Hawthorn with excellent skills and good run and carry, so he's another one that's on the rise, and Heath Shaw's having an excellent season for Collingwood as well, and his price will be on the rise as well. He's having a really consistent season, so all those guys are worth looking at as upgrades to some of the rookies that you've got on your bench, so you've got some more consistent and dependable senior players in your team. Okay, for the midfielders, similar to what we looked at with defenders, these are kind of like the rookies that most people would have chosen as their bench players. So I've listed 8 that are kind of seem to be pretty common. Now all these guys on this screen here are probably a few weeks away from reaching their maximum values. You'd be looking at somewhere probably for all these guys around about 3 or 4 weeks away before they reach their maximum values. And Ed Kerner I've got listed there, much like Dyson Heppel in the defenders. He's one that I'd probably hold on to rather than trade out. I think he's going to have a really consistent high scoring year, so just keep him in your team. There's no point in trading him out because it'd just be a sideways trade for another guy that's averaging 97 or 100. So anyone that's got Ed Kerner, you can sit on him, and probably your other 2 players on the bench are the ones you need to look at manoeuvring your trades around with. Another 4 here, Jasper Pittard, Shane Savage. They're a few weeks away from their prices reaching their max, so they need to be watched. Now Andrew Gaff's one that people are talking about moving out because of his averages and break-evens are kind of beginning to mean his value is going to settle down, but I'd keep an eye on him. I think with his roll off the substitution bench so far this season, I really think that his price could still go up as they give him more game time in the second half of the year. I think they've eased him in for the first half of the year just to pick up the speed and tempo of the game, and I think in the second half of the year he'll get far more total on-ground time than he has been, and I think his price could still go up, so he might be one to sit on for a while. And I've got Reece Conker there as well. He's a couple of weeks away, just as Pittard and Savage. Now, in terms of their replacements and who you might be looking in if you are going to be upgrading some of these guys, Mitch Wallace has played 2 games, so he's probably going to play his 3rd against the Swans this week. So if you're going to make a move with Mitch Wallace, this is the week to do it. And the other 3, Tom Ledger at the Saints, he's injured at the moment, but I think with his speed, which is something Secura is severely lacking, that he'll come in when he is back and fit. He had a good NAB Cup series, and he tackles hard, and I think he's the kind of quick player that Ross Lyon would like. So I think he'll come in. Isaac Smith, I think, is another one who'll be playing for Hawthorn this week. Not a prolific ball winner, but is a goal scorer and it's got really good speed. So see how he goes in his first couple of weeks. And Mzungu, his injury is now down to 4 or 5 weeks. So with the prices maxing out of most of those other players we spoke about in the last screen being 3 or 4 weeks away, that could be an excellent time to switch that over. So keep an eye on how his injury is going. He is a dual position player. He did have an excellent start in the NAB Cup Series, getting big scores. So it's just a matter of now whether he can force his way back into the Fremantle team with them going so well. But I think he probably would with some of the form of Greg Broughton, the injury to Nick Subin, I think, and Roger Hayden, I think, across half-back. I think he may get some time when he's up and fit again. And who to target when you're looking at the blue chip players to bring in? Gary Ablett, much like Brian Lake, his break-evens are very high, so his price will drop. And I think in the second half of the season his form will go up. So I think in a few weeks' time he'll be an excellent value trade option to get into your team. David Mundy's having an excellent season, so if you get him into your team, you wouldn't hesitate. Dustin Martin, ditto with David Mundy. As a Richmond supporter, it makes me very happy to see Dustin Martin getting those type of scores, and the consistency of his football is improving each week. So that's very good. And Tom Rockcliffe is a fantasy football machine in both forms of the game. Very, very consistent, and should not be overlooked if you're looking for a upgrade option in your midfield. The rucks, pretty quickly. Most players, I think, would have on their bench probably one or both of Zach Smith and Brock McCauley. Um, so you probably want to keep one of those as your third ruckman and trade up the other one to either just make some cash, so you can trade up in other areas of your field. If I was to choose one of the two, obviously keep Zach Smith. But Brock McCauley, if you haven't got him yet and you've got an inactive fourth ruckman, this is probably the last week where you could probably make a move of that sort. You can see his break-evens are still negative. It'll be interesting to see what his break-evens are next week, but his price will start becoming prohibitive to bring him in just to make 40 or 50,000. But if you bring him now, you probably end up making 100 or so thousand on him, even if you missed out on bringing him in last week. And who might you replace him with? Probably the only one that I can find out of all the kind of rookie rucks that might play at some point this season would be Richmond's Tom Derricks. He's had a reasonably good game in the VFL last week, and Damien Hardwick seems to like the way he goes about his footy. So it's just a matter of finding a spot for him in the team, probably. Angus Graham's doing quite well, and Tyrone Vickery's doing quite well up forward. So it might just be a matter of resting one of those ruckmen 1 week, and or maybe an injury will find him in the team. But definitely probably the best option that's still left down there, outside of some injured ruckmen like Robert Campbell and Jamie Charman, who've both got Achilles injuries, which doesn't fill me with confidence at all that they'll play this year. And the upgrade targets, Sandilands, Cox